Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D. Brief. This is the D Brief.
Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's
arts and entertainment scene.
This is the D
Brief.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
And I'm Becky Scarcello.
And Becky, you're the cooler one of the two of us, I think. You're the one who's always going out around town. You get into all the cool bars and the cool clubs and all that before I do. And you've been raving about this place for about a year now, the Willis Show Bar.
Yes, you know, it always feels like a special night there. I love the location. I love the vibe. It's so enjoyable and so unique.
So we're going to talk about why that's so unique because we have one of the co-owners here with us. This is a place that's been in Cass Quarter for about a year now, and Sean Patrick of the Willis Show Bar is joining us. Thank you so much.
Hi, gang.
Welcome.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
So explain the concept for somebody who's never been there. Like when you walk into the Willis Show Bar, what do you see? What do you feel? What's going on?
Yeah, so the Willis Show Bar originally existed from 49 to 78. By 78, the neighborhood had gone quite downhill. It actually got shut down by the city. There was a big raid. They hit Anderson's Gardens across the street and a couple of the apartment buildings around. So it sat for 40 years. By the time we got it, it was completely gutted. It was raw concrete floors, wall. All that was left was the ceiling in pretty bad shape. We had one photo to work with. It was from probably about 1970, and we decided to resurrect it, recreate it, build it from the ground up.
You're working from one photograph?
Mm-hmm.
One photograph. Yeah.
Wow. That was a good angle, I take it.
Good lighting.
Yeah, it was pretty good. With my partners and, our team of various contractors, we spent a year and a half resurrecting it, which has been, it's been pretty fun now that we're open because I've had at least 70 customers that came to the old Willis Show Bar.
Oh, wow.
And they're It's a pretty great experience. They're kind of like, deer's caught in the headlight, I guess, something like that. Yeah.
Take them back.
Yeah.
So,
I always have to ask what year they came to,
Right.
Is it the same concept as it was as a bar originally, or is it different now?
It is with our touch on kind of everything. Even the coloring, it's not the same color palette that was at the original one, but it's taken from a color palette based off of a paint sample sheet from that era. We focused a little bit more on kind of the 50s, mid-century part of it. The wood with mahogany, but we went with more blues and whatnot. So the music that we focus on, soul, funk, rhythm and blues, jazz, which was, from 49 to 78, that's kind of a golden era for all of that. So we have live music 4 nights a week. And we have DJs. The weekends we have burlesque. Yeah.
And you walk in, and there's the velvet curtain. Explain what you want people's experience to be.
Yeah. So the one physical change that we did is at the entry. In the old version, you opened the double doors and you walked into Willis Show Bar. But we kind of shifted that so that there's this pause that happens. The idea is that you shake off your day, your drive there. I'd say finding parking, but parking's a pretty easy thing there. But it gives you that pause. You meet the people at the front, and then there's a curtain reveal. And then once you walk inside Willis, you're inside. It's an experiential kind of setting.
Pretty immersive.
Yeah, it's very immersive.
Yes.
And so once you're inside, you're inside. There aren't any windows. You're kind of wrapped in it,
Talk a little bit about the setup of the stage.
Yeah, so the stage is set up in the very old show bar styling where it's behind the bar. Sometimes the seating would actually be up against the stage as well, and the bars would be off to the side. But this is actually behind the bar, so our bartenders are kind of walking back and forth in front of the stage. It's a half circle. So it's a small stage, but the bands that play say they have a really great time. And we also have a secondary stage off to the side because sometimes we'll go with 8, 9 members in a band, so we'll put a horn section off to the side, and that becomes very cinematic. It's a really great visual.
And is it house bands doing residencies? Is it touring
Yeah, we
acts?
have quite a few bands that are in regular rotation. I call them house bands. They do other gigs. Versions is the most internal. It's kind of a concept. That's our Thursday band, which is led by Mario Soloxana. It's a continuation of a concept I had done back in Los Angeles, and Mario, along with all the phenomenal musicians and singers, have really upped it.
Nice. I like how the booths are set up too, where you're certainly going to have conversation, but the intent is that you're there for the show,
right? And
you pay attention to the artist.
Exactly.
I love that.
Every spot is a great view for the show. But we do kind of smaller sets with our shows on the weekends because it's meant to be this whole experiential, right? Immersive, experiential. And so it's meant to take you on this ride. So it's a 40-minute show. That's including the burlesque. The burlesque show happens throughout the entire space while the band's playing. And then, the DJ plays and you get to kind of start talking with your friends. Yeah.
Let's not take this for granted because I think there's a lot of people out there who maybe have never experienced a burlesque show. How do you describe it to somebody who hasn't actually been through the experience?
Well, yeah. I've worked with burlesque dancers for, probably 17 years now. And we've it's a little bit different than the burlesque shows that had existed in Detroit prior to us coming here. It also has a bit of a cabaret feel where they're working. It's not just a stage performance; they're working through the whole room. Like every customer is going to be a part of this burlesque show. Yeah.
Nice.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, and you often DJ as well, correct?
I do.
Yeah.
I've actually been a professional DJ for over 30 years. So,
so what do you use? Are you, wiki on the Technics 1200, or have we moved on to?
I work in all the various platforms. Yeah.
Nice.
Computer, vinyl, CDJs. I have I've gotten rid of quite a few. Well, quite a few to me, but I still have about 8,000 records on vinyl.
Wow.
That's solid collection.
That was, I so wanted to be that at one point in my life. And, I had the first Pioneer CDJs when they came out, and then I discovered that I'm kind of like Steve Martin in the beginning of The Jerk, where like when I'm trying to find a beat, it's like not there.
A little awkward.
It's not my calling. Yeah. So I have so much respect for people.
Definitely.
This is what they do,
and really curating part of the experience and the tone. So
DJing has really made for an interesting life,
I bet.
How do you balance that with all the operational responsibilities that come with being a co-owner?
Well, I mean, there was a point where I was probably doing 300 DJ gigs a year. That's not the case anymore. Willis and the upcoming projects are really the main focus. So I DJ at Willis, maybe once a week. I do have some, I'm going back and visiting LA for a few days. So I'm going to do a couple gigs while I'm there. And I have some gigs coming up across the, over in the UK. I'm doing 5 gigs over there.
So you're still actively touring a bit.
This is the first time in a couple years where I've actually done more kind of touring.
Okay.
Yeah, but that is definitely part of my background. Yeah.
So you mentioned LA. Can we take a step back and talk about what brought you here and why the heck you left the sunny side of the country?
Oh boy, that's a good question. For listeners right now, it's been raining in Detroit for
this
days,
feels like Seattle.
Months.
36 of the last 40 days.
This right here is why I left Seattle.
Correct.
Right.
The gloom.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that trip. But I mean, what happened for me is, I've been doing what I've been doing for 20 years in LA, and the idea of doing it somewhere else was enticing. I mean, our population in Los Angeles has gotten pretty massive. I think it's grown 2.5 million people since I first moved there.
Wow.
Traffic, all of that. But I do have a really large and amazing tribe of friends back there that I miss. So it's good to make these trips back.
Mm-hmm. And so what made you say, I'm going to open a place in Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we had been looking at some other cities as well, and we made the trip out here when Steve had brought it up. He actually did a trip out here with some of his customers from his place back in LA called Scopa. And we made the trip out and we saw, 6 years ago what the potential was, and thought it'd be really great to be a part of it.
So I'm like you. I'm a transplant. I've been here about 4 years now. And I am curious because I've learned a lot about the city, especially doing this podcast. I've wound up learning a lot about the city. As you're interfacing with the city in terms of music or in terms of cocktails, for example, what do you find that either works here but wouldn't work in LA or New York or some of the other places that you've been, or maybe works in New York and LA but
hadn't been here yet?
Yeah, or doesn't work here or is different here?
Yeah, I think, that's a good question. I think we definitely came in having worked in LA and New York, just imagining, as had happened in the past for us, just, you come up with the concept and open it. And, there was a learning curve to Detroit for sure. We were probably a little more, I'm not sure what the word is, but, we were a little more adventurous and we've reeled some things back, but what's interesting is since we've opened, an evolution has happened, even with our customers, maybe people who at first were, I don't want to say confused, but, it was new in some ways. Like, oh, okay, I get it. And yeah. So
give me an example of that. I mean, are we talking musically? Are we talking in terms of performance? Are we talking
what they need
menu?
To wear?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we do have a little bit of a dress code. We've pulled back a little bit on that, and because
everybody came in their Detroit versus everybody T-shirts,
right? Yeah. I mean, the way we've explained it since the beginning, even on our website and whatnot, is that you're a character within this experience. Our waitresses wear these wonderful dresses, and the male bartenders and servers, they work both sides. The women and the men. We have female bartenders as well. And the men wear the suits, that were made by 1701 Bespoke. So we want you to be a part of that experience. And even our bands, they dress up there in suits and whatnot. And it's meant to be, kind of a special experience.
So if people are coming, what is the dress code? What should...
Again, it's relaxed a bit, but, flip-flops, Red Wings jerseys is, we
not so much.
No.
But yeah, your gym clothes,
right. Right. Yeah.
There are plenty of places for that. We're just we're different than that, and I think there are other places that are kind of on par with what we're doing as well. I don't imagine that you'd go to dinner at the DAC or Prime and Proper or
in your flip-flops.
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
How have you seen the neighborhood respond and change around you? I mean, since you've been open, She-Wolf came, and before that, Sfumato and Castalia, and all these walkable things now that weren't there before.
Yeah. They're all great additions, and we look forward to a lot more, especially some more residential. We have a couple hotels coming into the area as well, so we're really excited about that. I mean, it's an interesting time in Detroit. A lot of as much as there's been a lot of new places that have been added, I mean, you saw the list from last year, 38 bars closed last year.
Right.
So we just need to have that balance, and I'm eager to see some other industry grow in Detroit, because, there's only so many people that can work in bars and restaurants, and, we can't go to each other's bars and restaurants if everybody's working in food and beverage and hospitality.
There's definitely a lot of people that switch around that used to be here and now they're there.
So I'm excited to hear about, the new thing with Fiat Chrysler, the local hiring that they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
I was at an event at LinkedIn headquarters, and they already had 7,800 applications.
Wow.
And over by a project working on near Motown Museum, there's 2 new things going in over there that are both going to employ 200 people. So that's exciting.
Right. We all need that. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So, more tech, more manufacturing,
Right.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about the cocktails that you've got there?
Sure.
Because you're doing craft cocktails. Tell us what's...
Yeah. So, again, that was also, the other thing with Willis is being that we're kind of focusing on kind of the older days, but making it ours and new and current. We focus on older cocktails and, maybe doing just little twists here and there on it. We're about to launch our new cocktail menu, which we're really excited about. Been working on that for a couple months.
Oh, okay.
So, we're going into spring, summer, and it's going to be a little lighter. You'll find maybe some Cuban influences going on in there. Yeah.
Okay.
What is a Cuban influence in a cachaça?
I was going to say caipirinhas, but those are Brazilian.
Right.
So, what's Cuban?
Yeah. Come and find out.
Okay. I like that. That's a good tease. That's a good tease.
Anything with cucumbers. That's what I want to know.
And I say that just in Willis Show Bar is what we call a wet sell. I think once you see it, you had heard of Willis Show Bar before you showed up. When you come, it's kind of,
I get it. Okay.
It's, what's the saying, dancing about architecture,
Oh, right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Talking about art.
Talking about music,
yeah. Talking about music. It's like dancing about architecture,
Yes.
Not to put us on the level of, art, music, and architecture, but we do employ all three of those. So,
yes, you do.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, actually, talking about the art, that's a fun story. So, in that one photo, you can see that there were some prints on the wall back in the day, tropical prints. So, we created 6 prints of a beach, and if you were to pull all the way back and go to the other side of the room, you'll see that it's one continuous beach.
Yeah.
So in the far left, the moon is rising, where in the far right, the sun's setting. So it's like a 180 view.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen those numerous times, but I didn't realize. Oh, I'll look closer.
And then that can tie into the menu as well. 6 of the drinks on the menu are based off of each of the prints.
See? Yeah. Wow.
See what I did there?
Yes.
There you go.
I love it. And you sometimes do events for... different special occasions, like Stevie Wonder's birthday, or
yes, I'm really big at keeping an eye on the calendar for people's birthdays or anniversaries of albums that have come out, and we're lucky here in Detroit. There's so many amazingly talented musicians and singers that we've been able to just do so much already in the first year. It's really. I tell people back in LA, the density of A+ musicians and singers in Detroit,
it's pretty amazing.
It blows LA out of the water.
Yeah. I bet you have your pick of who you might want to perform there, right? There's so much talent. Available.
And again, we've learned a bit, and we tried some things maybe a little more on the outside, and we saw that those didn't necessarily work for Willis Show Bar. But I stopped counting after 400 people had performed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really great.
So
we've had nights where we have 2 bands playing, and there's 10 to 12 people right there, so that's been pretty exciting.
Definitely.
So if Bob Seger gets bored in his retirement, does he have an open invitation to just come over?
Sure.
If he does something funky and jazzy. Yeah.
Have you seen any celebrities come through locally?
The ones that I've had are just people that I know from back in Los Angeles, like if they're on tour, and we'll do after parties for them, and so that's been fun, kind of people that I've known for a long time and have them, in my new town.
Nice.
Yeah. So I get this feeling you have this kind of eclectic and cool past, and you've got some good stories. So any you could share with us.
Yeah. It's been interesting. I'm working on a concept, some stories. Basically, I'm going to call it 6 degrees of decision.
Okay.
And it's kind of like the 6 degrees of
Kevin Bacon.
Well, sure, yeah. But it's
yes.
Yeah, it was. I was telling a story once to somebody who didn't know about some of my past, only knew me more currently, and And as I was telling this story, I was seeing that it led to a few other key things. So just made me think, and I'm gonna try and work on something with that. But
you still haven't told me.
Yeah, that was very cryptic.
I know.
Yeah.
Do we need to wait for your project?
Yeah.
Your memoirs?
No, not necessarily. I'm trying to think of what to tell here. Okay, so I guess one of the stories I can tell is a Prince story.
See, he knows who he's talking to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was part of a project, helped relaunch a place called the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. And it was quite the scene. I was music director and DJ.
And this is where?
This is back in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah. The Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, which goes back to the 30s, but it not totally dissimilar from Willis, had fallen into disrepair. And then
is this the one that's haunted by Marilyn
Correct.
Monroe's? I've been here. They host the Worldwide Radio Summers. They had a number of years. Yeah.
So there's two parts of it. There's the tower, which goes back further, and then there's the more kind of probably mid-century part that was added, and it has a giant pool that was painted by David Hockney. Mm-hmm. And, we were getting all kinds of people through there, but, being the DJ for as long as I have, we had Prince coming through, and we had kind of this suite that I would DJ in front of that was the VIP suite, so that's where a lot of the names were going. And the first time Prince came, I'm DJing. It's a 4-hour set. Gets to be 2:00, and his handler asks if I can continue DJing. I'm like, well, I'll have to come into the suite, and we turn off the main sound. So I'm DJing. There's still several people hanging out, and as the night goes on, people are fading, and Prince is just sitting over there on the couch by himself. And by the time I finished the set, it was 7:30 in the morning.
Oh wow!
And his handler Raul came over and said, "Okay, you're done now," and they left out the back door, that became a thing where I got to DJ for him several more times.
Really?
He was really cool, It was a really sad loss,
I know.
When Prince, does he ever request songs? Is he ever like, can you play I Will Survive?
No.
He sat back and let you do your thing?
The only request he ever made was later, about a year later, we had opened up Teddy's, which was inside the hotel, which was crazy exclusive. It was just a bizarre world to fall into. I mean, I grew up in a town of 125,000 people. My dad was a fireman, and all these years later, this is my life.
Yeah.
And so it's a big party. It might have been New Year's, I can't remember. And I'm DJing, and then a celebrity DJ showed up, and the owner's like, "Oh, can they hop on for a little bit?" And about 20 minutes into the set, you see these little hands over the wall, because he had the booth next to the DJ booth, but it had kind of a high wall, and he's a shorter guy, and I lean over, I'm like, what's up? And he's like, "Get her off, I want you to DJ." And I told the DJ, I didn't tell the DJ, I told the owner, and they basically lured the person off with a bottle of champagne, like, "Hey, you got to come see da-da-da,da," and I hopped back on, so that was pretty cool.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah. But he was just a genuinely, just sweet guy. He was really cool, and preferred to just be talked directly to and not as.
Right.
Yeah.
So is the hotel really haunted by Marilyn Monroe?
I never saw her. Okay. I spent quite a bit of time there.
That's the rumor, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Huh. Willis Show Bar haunted by anybody?
Not that I know of. Yeah.
No incidents?
Maybe some, old burlesque dancers, Irma the Bod or something.
You would think.
Yeah.
So walk us through some of the things you have going on every week. I know Tuesdays, Thursdays are kind of
Tuesdays is it's kind of an industry night. all-night happy hour. We have a different guest bartender every week, a different guest pop-up chef every week. We have a different liquor brand that's the focus. So what happens is the guest bartender and one of our bartenders come up with 3 drinks each using that brand. So it's never the same menu. And that's pretty fun. And then, we have guest DJs as well. So Tuesdays are kind of the more relaxed, fun other side of Willis Show Bar, no cover or anything. Just come have some fun.
Nice.
All night happy hour.
All right, Sean, you ready to play a little game?
Sure.
Here's how this works. We're going to ask you for a series of rapid-fire recommendations. Just tell us the first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready? All right, let's start this. Obviously, you're DJing. Have you found a favorite place to go shop for records or for music here in the Detroit area?
Yeah, I love Hello Records and People's Records. Those are my go-to spots.
Nice.
Very good spot.
You buying a lot of vinyl? What are you buying it on these days?
Well, I've been focusing on Detroit music, building that catalog. We keep about 1,000 records at Willis Show Bar, and they're actually, if you look in the DJ booth, there's a beautifully built record shelving unit behind the DJ.
It is gorgeous.
Nice.
And we also display 8 records a night on the wall.
Oh, that's cool.
So speaking of that, do you have a favorite album by a Detroit artist?
Detroit has had so many talented people. And I have a pretty broad taste in music, so it could go from, Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin, or it could be Jay Dilla, Amp Fiddler, any of the original techno guys I'm also, fond of. So
Can't choose. That's
Can't choose.
Got it.
We've talked about you surviving the winters here in Detroit. Supposedly summer's coming up. We'll see if that actually happens.
I've heard.
Do you have a
Fake news.
favorite thing to do? You have a favorite thing to do here in Detroit during the summer?
I like to go to Belle Isle.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good choice.
Yeah. I like to go to Belle Isle. I'm a runner, so it's a great run, but at the same time, I can go with my wife and we can have a nice picnic too.
Nice.
What's something that now that you've lived in Detroit, 2 years, what do you brag to people, your friends in LA or New York, about Detroit?
When they ask why, one of the first things I do, and this is more of a visual, we're doing a podcast here, but I stretch my arms out all the way.
Okay.
There's room. I can breathe and stretch out.
Yeah.
And that's what I really love about Detroit, and I brag that there's no traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Occasionally I'll hear a Detroiter complain about some traffic that they had to deal with. I'm like, you really have no idea. Yeah.
Have you been to any outdoor festivals since you've been here, and do you have a favorite?
Oh, I definitely have. Yeah, I mean, it would be between Mopop and Movement, I would say. Yeah.
2 of my favorites as well.
Yeah.
So what Detroit activity is next on your to-do list? You've been here a couple years now. What haven't you done yet?
Wow, what haven't I done yet? Radio silence.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I've been pretty active. I've been coming here for 6 years and have been lucky enough to meet some really great people that have gotten me access to a lot of things, as well as just taking the time to do it, I haven't been on the riverboat.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. That's worth
a good
doing.
call.
Yeah.
It's a different way to see the city.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's actually,
I run past it,
Yeah.
at least once a week because that's one of my runs that I do,
like
but
a
I
river
haven't been on it, and I'd like to do that.
My girlfriend and I went on it, and I wasn't expecting much, but to see the city from
It's
that
really
perspective.
cool. Yeah.
The other thing I highly recommend, the greatest holiday here is Sweetest Day. I don't know if you've run into that yet.
No.
You need to have somebody explain to you how
Okay.
that works. It's like Valentine's Day, but the woman does everything for the guy. And so my girlfriend gave me a helicopter. We took a helicopter tour of the city.
Oh, now that I would like to do as
Yes.
well.
That was an amazing way to see the
That's
city.
on my list.
I've done that in Hawaii, but yeah, that would be really great.
This is cool.
How about a moment you'd like to go back to in Detroit history?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be to, be at the various clubs back when the Motown guys were doing their thing, because the stories I hear, they were playing out every night. Like, you know, the days we were recording, but they were out, and a lot of them were jazz cats too. So it's like just hearing that whole kind of, I mean, it was new music at the time.
Yeah.
You know?
It's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, those were amazing musicians.
Yeah.
All right. You were fantastic.
Yeah.
Great.
So thank you so much for coming in. Sean Patrick of Willis Show Bar. Willis Show Bar is in the Cass Quarter. Thank you so much for coming
My pleasure. It was a great time.
Until next time, Detroit's moving.
Keep up.
The D Brief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.